Hi guys, you're welcome to my YouTube channel where we make easy to do videos and create hair tutorial content. As you all know, it's always fun to show you new styles, new techniques, and how we get to achieve them. And in today's video will be a very special one. We will be making a glueless frontal, and it will be so fun. Why? Because I've adapted a new technique on doing this, and I can't wait to show you guys. I'm prepping my cap and putting it on the canvas head, making sure it is positioned properly. Afterwards, I bring my frontal and I try as much as possible to avoid having to make any mistakes because this is very sensitive. So I measure the frontal, and based on the client's head shape, I've seen her, so I can tell how her head shape is, though I didn't take an actual measurement of her head. Then I had to cut the lace according to the measurements. I presume, guys, this can be risky, it could be wrong, but it's always advisable you see your client and know the shape of her head or the size of her head. So this is actually from my own speculation that her head is, she has a big skull, so I've already seen her, so I'm able to cut the lace according to her head shape. Now I have cut it in both sides at both edges. Now next up is to fix it on my canvas head on the cap. Don't forget, you need to place your frontal properly, because anything that makes you to place it inappropriately shows on the client's head, and as of that time it might be too late. So positioning your cap is very important also, because when you position your cap, you don't get to have to make adjustments to your wig later on. Now I've positioned my cap and I'm placing my frontal on the cap. Now I start from side to side, looking at the front, adjusting it outwards, and making sure that each side of it is properly placed. While placing my frontal, I try as much as possible to bring out a little bit of the hair outside of the cap, therefore pinning it. After I have brought out that side, I'll pin it on the cap, and that makes it to come forward a bit. I pin it side by side first before going to the back, and once I've gotten my two front sides, I go to the back and pull the cap backward a little, not with too much force, but gently pulling it back and pinning it in the center of the frontal. While pinning, I make sure that I pin neatly without avoiding any fold or any gallops on the frontal. This makes it to look perfect, and in fact you won't have to have the issue of a folded frontal after wigging, or during styling you see that you have gallops or bumps. When you follow this procedure, you are getting a perfect frontal, I promise you that. Now I try as much as possible to look at my placing if it's accurate, and I can actually see if I made a mistake by coming to the front and seeing. If you have a mistake, it's not bad to make adjustments. It's time to sew in, and I lay a lot of emphasis on sewing in, because for me a neat sewing is actually a pass mark to being a good wig maker. When I begin to sew, I sew with my thread outside of my lace. I sew on top of it, but edge of it, I don't allow my sewing to go beyond that. and that makes my sewing very, very neat and unique. You can also try that out and see how it comes out for you. You watch how I place my hand and how I place my thread even when I'm sewing in. So I don't knot my thread, I don't knot it at all while sewing in a frontal. I have my reasons, and my reasons are because once you start to knot, you might actually have a little bit of fold, or the thread leaves a kind of will I call it a bomb or so where it doesn't get smooth enough. Transitioning a frontal to the main sewing of the weft from here should be smooth. You shouldn't notice any difference or any change in sewing. So that is another aspect you need to look at. Now I sew from the center to the ending, and that is to the front, and that is how I sew. I don't sew from the beginning, I sew from the center to the ending of the hair, which makes you to be able to make adjustments in the process. Please don't mind the speed of my sewing. This is not actually how it is in real life. This is not real life. In my sewing, I take my time. Gradually, I sew in. And as a beginner, you need to be calm. You need to take your time to sew in. Make sure your sewing is neat. Don't just go over it because you want to finish up on time. Take your time, sewing professionally and neatly. I know you know what I mean. Just like I said before, when you're sewing, you need to sew from the center to the ending of the hair. And now I'm going back to the center to sew to the other side of the frontal. Please, if you've watched to this point, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and also leave a comment in the comment section telling me what you like about the video, what you learned, and the next video you would love to be seeing on my channel. As you all know, your suggestions and opinions are very, very important to me. Your feedbacks are also important to me. Please do come and let's get familiar. You might be wondering, why am I sewing from the center to the ending? Like I said before, it helps you to make adjustments while sewing, and it helps your sewing to be flat and smooth. Whereas if you're doing this and you find out that you have any kind of mistake or any bump, you can always adjust your pin, like pulling it out and fixing it back right in, but you shouldn't remove it beyond what it originally is or from the position it is before. Now I begin to weave my hair. I weave because it helps to reduce my stress of like having hairs interfering in my wigging. So I just weave it all through and keep it aside, and that is what it just keeps it neat for me. Again, my beautiful physical is this hair is giving all it needs. So beautiful. Getting a good hair is a good investment. Beauty is very important, and shout out to every lady, every girl out there that gets a very nice hair, that always tries to look good. Looking good is a good business. Right now, I already started wigging, and as you all know, I wig from ear to ear when it comes to frontal, and that is what I'm doing, wigging it and making sure that I'm doing a neat sewing at the same time. Please remember to flip your hairs and flip it neatly, and when flipping you should always sew at the edge of that flip to press it down, to hold it down, and to ensure that you don't have any bumps right there. Now I'm sewing ear to ear. I'm almost done with this, but I would like to show you, I showed it in my previous video, but I would like to do that again to show you how I close my sewing. And as you can see, I am closing it up. I'm going right behind my frontal lace. I'm not sewing on top of it, I'm sewing right behind it. And with this, it helps to make your hair to transition when styling, or when your client's hands are going on the hair, doesn't notice any difference from her frontal to her sewing. And that is a professional way to work on a frontal. Ta-da! I'm done with wigging my hair, and it's time to style my hair. Let's get to the styling. Before I begin to style my hairs, I love to cut off the excess nets, and by doing so I use my surgical scissors to cut it off. I don't use the big scissors because as a professional and even a beginner, you are advised to use this to avoid mistakes. It helps you to walk through the net without having to cut off excess of it, or let's say it lets you to have control over the cutting process. Moving on to my styling, I place it back on the canvas head, and also, as you all know, I love to pluck my hairs, though this hair was ventilated from the scratch, but I still need to pluck it to make it look all natural. So I go in with my tweezers and I pluck and pluck and pluck, like you all know, and get to a perfect hairline. Being a curly hair, I love to use Mega Growth Leave-In Conditioner, and I don't use it direct. I don't apply it direct. I put it in a spray can and spray it on the hair. I use it to wet the hair, and make sure it goes into every section of the hair. I also use Hawaiian Silky on my hair to spray it evenly around the hair, and doing this, it helps to revive the coils, get back the coils, and to even make it look more beautiful, more presentable, and giving it its original pixie coil. I begin to comb with an open teeth comb, and I go in with it gradually and take my time to comb it. I know most of you will be wondering if combing it won't remove it from the original coils that it have. No, once you wet a curly hair, you already have it halfway to recovery. So combing it is the best way to actually bring it back, to revive it. So once you comb it out, the coils begins to return, the coils begin to fall into place because it is an original coil hair. You will still have some hairs that will pull off due to having to comb it out. Next, I move to styling the frontal, and I use my wax to first wax the front and then put on my hot comb. Then while my hot comb is already hot, I start to comb it out, start to make sure that I get a perfect sleek frontal. Make sure you comb it, make sure you comb the frontal and make it to be as flat and sleek as possible. Though it will take some time, but it's worth the wait because the outcome is always very, very beautiful and nice. Now take out your comb and give it a pattern or a styling you like. Some might go for a C-cut or a side pattern, but I chose to go for a center pattern. Why? Because I don't know the style preference my customer will like. So a center pattern is a general style that everyone is okay with. So even if the person still wants it a different style, it's easier to get it to that style, being that it's already flattened, well flattened. Just all you just have to do is to part it in another section and style. Now you can see I already got into a very, very nice, very, very sweet and beautiful hairstyle already. And yes, this is my frontal, this is my glueless frontal, and I'll be waiting for my customer, my client to walk in to come collect her hair so I can cut the hair. And she's here already. This frontal has no band on it, and putting it on her head, it was perfect. It was very, very perfect, even without a band on it. She was already smiling and blushing. Aww. So I had to put a band on it because it was not as tight as it should be. Naturally, it can't be as tight as it should be. So now I'm laying it back to her hair, and I want to cut the hair. So laying it back, I need to adjust it properly, put it properly on her hair to see where it fits in and where it stops. And as you can see, it fits in directly to her scalp and even to her hairline and to her ear gauge. That is where my focus was when I was cutting my frontal side by side. Cutting the lace is a very, very important aspect because once you make any mistake here, it's all over. Like you can't correct it. So you have to take your time, watch where you're cutting, and always remember to use the surgical scissors, or you get a blade you can use to maneuver through the line and get a perfect cut. And yeah, I'm done cutting, and yes, this is my client looking all beautiful and happy. Yes, many won't know if it's actually a glueless frontal or an installed one unless you tell them. And here you can see it's a frontal, a glueless frontal, all pressed into our skin, looking very, very natural and beautiful. You can imagine, you can see the sides are all looking perfect. She loved it and I loved it too. If this video was helpful to you, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting more content. I'll get to see you next time. Bye.